Anastasia Elrouss, an architect, activist, and a lecturer at the American University of Beirut. I'm the founder of Anastasia Elrouss Architects, an architectural office working on putting the human layer at the center of creating architectural experience, and the founder of Warch NGO, a platform that works on an inclusive workplace in the construction field. Since a very young age, I dreamt of leaving a trace in the city. And I lived in Tripoli, north of Lebanon, and I used to roam around in all neighborhoods. And this is where I decided that I want to live with people, how they conceive their spaces, and basically design for them. So I went to AUB and studied architecture. And once I graduated in 2005, I was longing to start basically building and experiencing the profession. So I joined Samir Khairallah and Partners in Lebanon, and 2 years later, I was at Jean Nouvel in Paris for a year, and then I founded YTAA in 2008. And at a very young age, I had to manage a team, an international project, a 60-hectare quartier in Bordeaux, 17,000 square meter social housing in Nantes, and a museum in Bucharest, while following ongoing projects in Lebanon. And this is where I started dreaming about finding my own office and basically communicating my architectural idea, which happened in 2017. The creative process while working with architecture is very important to me because I really focus on working on physical models, drawing by hand, communicating with the team, communicating with the client, going to sites, and experiencing and challenging the drawings and the concept. Especially for us women, we need to be present physically. And to basically to alter and make the spaces more present and to create a tension between the built spaces and the experience spaces. And basically at the office we challenge the traditional systems of constructions. We challenge the materials. So for example, an air conditioning system is transferred to be vertical. A cantilever is a 27 by 17 with all the items embedded in it. And we work closely with structural engineers, electromechanical engineers, crafts, and we combine all of these together into a tailor-made project, because I really believe in a tailor-made architecture, not only for the user, but also for the context. One of my favorite projects is my first project, because during the first meeting with the client, I have proposed a huge cantilever. The project was 3,000 square meters and only 300 square meters were apparent, because the landscaping was like covering in so many different ways all the spaces. And the client told me, if you are that unreasonable, I'm willing to take the risk and construct the project with you. And now the project is in its last phases of concrete construction. And I'm really happy with this project. I grew up in a family of women, of 7 women. Since my father passed away, I was 6 years old. And in Mediterranean context, usually in families, you need a male figure to represent your family, or your family name is related to your father or to basically a male figure. And since I was young, I started searching for, if you want, a way to leave my trace as a woman, because I didn't really understand this need. And I fell in love with architecture at an early stage. And through traveling a lot and having the chance to be able to work on big international projects, I was one of the fewest women present on the table, taking decisions, discussing important city decisions, important construction decisions and budget decisions. And this is where I felt that I have a responsibility to create a platform, an inclusive platform, where women can basically work together, exchange, and lift up each other, and invite. I would like, through Warch, I would like to invite other women to sit on the table, to be there, to take the risk, to discuss, no matter what the cultural or social or economical diversities that are present there. We need to be taking decisions about our cities, about drawing our cities, about drawing our homes, about deciding on the way we want to live, and to coexist with men and to be team players. So this is what Warch had for a purpose. The meaning of the name Warch, it means site construction, because the toughest part of a project is its construction, because it's physically present, it needs a huge budget, and this is where the main decisions are taken. So I invite all women to be present on this table and to take decisions. I would follow the same path. I would study architecture all over again the same way. I would do the 10,000 overnights, because I think that part of this career is a passion, is a responsibility, is a thrill, and it is a social responsibility. And I think that architects can make a change and can make a positive change in our communities and in our way of living. So absolutely, I invite everyone to study architecture. It's tough. It takes time, it takes effort and energy, and it takes a long time to be really confident not to do any compromise. But I think that it's worth it. During the 3 years of Warch, the evolution was tremendous and exponential, because we created a large network. Since during the travels, I tried to keep the relationship with the people I worked with. So women started to realize that they need to basically lift each other up and support each other. I started teaching at the American University of Beirut, because I think that working with students will help them notice that coexistence and the teamwork between women and men is important, and highlighting the importance of respect, and inviting students to sit at the table and to discuss and to basically defend their ideas. And during these 3 years, we have experimented with the do-it-yourself techniques, where women started to do crafts, so wood crafts and painting crafts. And these crafts allow them to be independent economically, which is very important, because in order to take a decision, we need to start having a bit of independency. And we are working on a pilot project, and in this pilot project, Warch is encouraging vertical ecology, urban farming, and wood construction or wood crafting, and the maintenance of our houses and our homes. So these crafting techniques are very important, and they can be taught in a community. So a woman in a household can teach basically her friend, and the friend can teach like a neighbor, and then the neighbor can teach another neighbor. So it's like creating a community where women can start helping each other, lifting each other, and being independent culturally, economically, and having a sort of a confidence that they can make a change, even a small change in their house. I think that leading usually is done by example. So I felt the need to really be there and start construction and push for the idea of experimentation without fear and taking the risk. So the fact that I'm trying to push for the idea of equal opportunities for all, and learning by doing and not only by studying or by writing is very important. This is why the fact that we basically create a platform where we construct things, we leave a trace, we plant a tree, we teach women on doing things that are apparent to them, so that they feel the subject of this workshop, and not only talking about an inclusive workplace, but creating an item or changing a space or reconsidering or re-questioning construction techniques that can create job opportunities. And I think this is very important, and I think that this is part of how I approach creating an inclusive workplace at the office and at the NGO. So the team is mainly women. They are present on site, like always. They are present at the table. They make decisions. We have like group discussions, and with the crafters, I call them the dream crafters, because for me, like, women are dream crafters. They have a lot of attention to details. When they like put the first door or the first window or the first wooden facade, they are so proud because they see the product, they see what they did, and they are so proud. And I think this is like the accomplishment that I dream of, and I hope that it will grow even into constructing towers, maintaining our neighborhoods as well. My proudest moment is when I woke up realizing that I'm working on my own project and basically living my dream about having my architectural office. And we have a ritual at the office that push us to work more into winning awards and competitions. So whenever we win a project or a competition, or we do a lecture, or we are published, we buy a plant or a tree and we grow it at the office, so we can see it growing with us, in order to remember that this project was a very proud moment for us. Because I think that we need to really always remember that we are achieving, and that we are in a continuous evolution and change, and we are part of the evolution of this work. For me, the future of architecture and an inclusive workplace, which is the purpose of Warch, are really connected to each other. So I believe in a communal architecture, not to talk about social housing or very private constructions, but to say that we are active role models in our spaces. And as women, we need to take part into constructing our spaces. So let's say basically architecture is about combining diverse communities, diverse cultural backgrounds into one project. For example, the M Tower, it's a structure, and in the structure the users or the inhabitants can construct their own home through a workshop based on the ground floor. So the ground floor is not only designed or conceived to have vitrines or basically neutral facades, but to be an active programmatic economical generator for the neighborhood and for the building itself. For example, the staircases can become an anchor for sports activities. The rooftops can have suspended gardens or programmatic insertions for the community. And these workshops and these functions can create a building that is renovating itself daily. So the user is very important into the future of architecture, into basically deciding the future of architecture, as well as the landscape. The relationship between the landscape and the constructed projects are a part of the creative process in all the projects I work in. And for me, a natural landscape is very resilient. So I use this resilience in the constructed landscape, and I link it to the natural landscape and then infiltrate it into the project, into creating a dialogue between outside and inside. Sometimes the dialogue is basically intention, so you have an empowerment of the landscape, and sometimes the dialogue is of harmony. So the extension of the landscape is really like natural into the internal spaces. So the secret gardens are part of the resilience of the user into its constructed space. And these secret gardens basically portray the emotions and the 4 seasons of the project, where the user can be with him or herself, and they can custom their garden like they custom their own space or their building or their office or even the city. So I believe in like even urban secret gardens where you can only access or visit in summer, or where you can only access when the sun is at its peak in order to feel the heat. So for me, the 5 senses are very important, and usually these senses, they come out when we work architecture as an ecological tool in relationship to nature. So for me, the notion of vertical ecology or vertical landscaping is very important, because it creates a sustainable living, not as a concept, but as a way of interacting with nature, the built nature and the natural scapes. It's gonna seem weird, but I love working with concrete, especially in the Middle East or in Lebanon, because it's for me it's a material that's alive. It can be tailor-made. It can have a lot of colors and textures, and it combines structure with architecture. And I think that we need to combine expertise and scopes of work in order to create a project that's a dialogue between many, basically many crafts. And concrete allows that in an accessible, economical agenda in the region. And it allows us to go in height. It allows us to cantilever horizontally. It allows us to create a structure. And in addition to concrete, I work with wood, because wood is a fluid material. It's more a human material. So the combination between the monument, the concrete monumentality, and the human wooden layer, and this dialogue between these two, while letting a resilient landscape to intervene in between, is architecture.